what this will do to impact the Florida Georgia game with the added revenue that you would presume they'd be able to offer teams with obviously more expensive seats and suites and things like that.
Well, Gene, as you know, one of the things we did up front is we talked to important stakeholders very early on in the design process. We had multiple meetings with the athletic directors, both at the University of Georgia and the University of Florida, because we wanted to make sure that this stadium served their needs to ensure that this great annual tradition of the Florida Georgia game stays in Jacksonville. And I think this development puts us in a position to be much stronger in our confidence that those universities will choose to stay in Jacksonville because economically it is significantly better for them under the new stadium than the old stadium.
Thank you.
We'll go to Rick Anderson. We'll circle back to Rick and move to Mike DeRocco.
Shad, is there a sense of relief now that this long process is finally over? And maybe for Mayor Deegan as well.
Well, I think it's, it's end of one process, but start of the other process. But there is, we've been working at this. There's been a huge amount of work done. So really, it's always a relief to get this behind us. 32-0, but a lot of work got into it to get us to where we are today.
Yeah, I will certainly add to that it was incredibly important to me and I think to all of us to move through this process as quickly and efficiently as we could, so that we could get on with construction and get on with this wonderful new stadium. So for me, it is a relief to hear that vote. I think we all anticipated that it would be positive. And that's thanks to a lot of work by these gentlemen. But at the end of the day, it does mark a significant moment for us and a movement into the construction phase of this process, which is going to be exciting to watch.
So is the construction timeline, has it changed a little bit? Now I'm seeing it's going to start February 2025. Wasn't the original plan to start after the 2025 season?
No, if you go back to the beginning, one of the things that was important when we did our town hall meetings, and it was clear from elected officials in Jacksonville, they wanted to make sure that as many games as possible would be played in Jacksonville. You may recall that our original plan had us being away from Jacksonville for 2 seasons. We modified that to only be away for 1 year. And one of the things we had to do in order to be able to deliver that is move up the start of the construction. So construction will literally begin as soon as this NFL season ends.
Thank you, Mark.
We'll move to David Bauerlein, followed by Mark Long.
Yeah, thank you. Let's just start with a question for Mark, if I could. I know, Mark, when you have been involved in big stadium construction projects with the St. Louis Cardinals, also with the MetLife Stadium for the Jets and Giants to play, and now this stadium deal. Can you kind of reflect or compare this particular process, this stadium deal and the construction of it with those others that you've been involved with in your professional career?
Well, I learned a lot before I got involved with this project, and I think that helped us in terms of our planning. I think the one thing that was different about this process is we communicated more than we did on any other project. We started the planning really early. We involved the public in the discussion very, very early. And then we spent a lot of time ensuring that we understood what was important to our public partner and that our public partner understood what was important to us. And I think from the very beginning, our interests were aligned. We both worked really hard to get to yes, thanks to the mayor's leadership, thanks to Shad's commitment. And I think the results are telling. As we've said, there wasn't a lot of public drama. That's not to suggest that there weren't some very difficult discussions and tough times behind the scenes, but neither party tried to gain leverage on the other party by negotiating publicly. And I think that's a lesson that all communities can learn.
If I could just one follow-up in terms of involving the public. Y'all did do a survey of fans to see where they would like to see the team play, whether it's in Gainesville or Orlando. Have y'all gotten results from that? And the NFL owners, I understand it still will need to approve at some point where you're going to be playing when you're not in Jacksonville. So where does that stand in terms of where you're going to be in those seasons that you're 2027, when you're not there at the stadium in Jacksonville?
Well, before answering that question, I think it's important that everyone understand that our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in Central Florida as they deal with the aftermath from Hurricane Milton. We have a lot of work to do on that decision. We really didn't have to spend too much time on it until the project became real. It just became real about an hour ago. I anticipate that it's going to take us at least through the end of this regular season to have a really good handle on it. That at that point, we'll have a recommendation, and then we have to work through the NFL, the same process that we went through on the stadium. We haven't done just surveys with our fans. We've done surveys with our fans. We've done surveys with our sponsors. We've done surveys amongst our employees. One of the most important constituents is our football operations. We have a good feeling on what they want to do. We've also had ongoing discussions, principally aimed at Gainesville and Orlando. And David, until we get all of that information together, I think it might be a little premature just to speak to just one aspect of it or another.
Okay, thank you.
Mark Long, followed by Kent Justice.
Hey, Shad, congratulations. I know over the summer you mentioned, this is a bad day for the Debbie Downers and the doubting Thomases of the world. Do you, at least now that it's official, do you allow yourself to maybe take a little victory lap or a little I told you so moment?
Yeah, I'm doing that, Mark. Okay. So yes, I'm gonna do that. Okay. So, and it's, actions speak louder than words, and I think we're gonna have some real action. Yeah.
Is there maybe actually Donna's probably the better one because she likes to take a victory lap. But is there I'm
gonna not try to take offense to that, but go ahead. Yeah.
Right. No, that's a compliment. Is there a I told you so here? Just everybody who for Shad, it's been 13 years that 12 years people have been saying this isn't going to happen. This is a pipe dream. This team's moving. All of that.
Listen, I'm just going to say I am a shameless homer. And I have been a huge fan of this city my whole life. I've been a huge fan of the Jaguars since before we actually got the team. and I just, I clipped every article. I took note of every person who said that this was never going to happen. I remember Forbes came out with something that said there was no chance we were going to reach this agreement. So you betcha. Jacksonville is a can-do city, as I said, and I want the people of this city to really start believing that because it's true, and I think that this is just a testament to what we have here. I mean, we are here in London to talk to people about the gifts of our city. The fact that we have this wonderful NFL team. Everywhere I go, people talk to me about Shad and about the Jaguars and what big fans they are here and how wonderful Jacksonville has been when they've come to visit and the river and the ocean and all the things that we have to offer. And I'll just say that it's time that people in our city really start to embrace what a wonderful home we have. Not that we don't, but I think there are some people that still tend to go toward that attitude of, oh gosh, we're just Jacksonville. We are a city on the rise, and the Jaguars are a big part of that. And I can't wait to take that victory lap. So hopefully I started that tonight.
Kent Justice, followed by Hayes Carline.
Yeah, hey, thanks for the time here. So, I know we're closer to 30 years than 25 years, but this looks like silver anniversary wedding kind of celebration. I guess the big question for each of you, hey, are you still in love? The franchise and the city, does this represent that going forward another 30 years?
Well, I think I already answered that question, Ken. So absolutely, it's a yes for me. I couldn't be more excited to partner with Shad and with Mark and with this organization. They have been incredibly good to Jacksonville. I was talking with somebody here in London today that said, I know a lot of NFL owners, and I'm not going to name any names, but they said you are incredibly lucky to have somebody who invests in the city the way Mr. Khan does and wants the best for the city of Jacksonville. And I am grateful for that. And so for me, that answer is a resounding yes.
And Mr. Khan, is it a matter of timing? Obviously, third stadium deal in just a couple of years for the NFL at large. Was it just the right time to get a deal like this done for the city of Jacksonville and for your franchise?
Well, I think, the time was right, and there was, again, a lot of heavy lifting done. I'd probably quote, I think Wayne wouldn't mind, Wayne Weaver was there before here, when we got the deal with the city done at MEC, and he said, that was the second most important day in the history of Jacksonville and the Jaguars. The first was obviously when they got the franchise, and the second day was when the city council voted, for the extension of the lease and extension of the stadium. And I really believe that, because it removes the uncertainty. I mean, we can say what you want to say. People believe what they want to believe. So I think this is, more proof. And then as we have the development on the east side and really the growth, for me, we want, the area we're doing with the stadium, the Four Seasons, the museum. I mean, we want that to be the jewel in the Jacksonville crown, frankly, and we're headed that way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hayes Carline, followed by Rick Anderson.
Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for your hard work on this. Shad, how gratifying was it for you to have Commissioner Goodell and your colleagues in ownership be so supportive of your vision for the new stadium in Jacksonville?
Well, obviously, I'm very gratified and thankful to them. And, I'm gratified, but not surprised. We've been working at it for a long time. We've talked to all the owners one-on-one. Obviously, Roger's been highly supportive, big part of it. And I think it's great to get to this point.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I hope you can hear me now. Sorry about earlier. Shad, you mentioned the Four Seasons project, and I'm wondering, is that still on track? And then speaking of, things that are going on around the stadium, is there any update on, the sports entertainment district that the team would like to build adjacent to the stadium? And then is there any update also on the fairgrounds property?
Mark, maybe you'd be the most qualified.
Yeah, the Four Seasons project, which is obviously the hotel and the residences. There's a new office building. If you've driven by the site, we're up to floor 4 on that office building, and probably have it topping out within the next few months. There's work being done on the renovation of the marina and the marina services building. That project, continues on track. As far as the fairgrounds, absent the hurricane, there was actually a groundbreaking that was scheduled, and we expect to close on the final purchase of the fairgrounds. Shad expects to close in January of this year, and then we'll see what happens from there. As far as the sports and the entertainment district is concerned, obviously that was something that we talked about at the very beginning. It seemed best to all parties to try to uncouple those. It may just have had it much more complicated to get the stadium deal done. I think there's a couple things that I think most people will agree on. Downtown Jacksonville needs an entertainment district. That hasn't changed over the course of the past 5 years. And really the only thing that has changed is it's probably going to be more expensive to do it than it was, 4 or 5 years ago. It needs to happen. We seem to think that at the sports complex might be the best location of it. But those things need to happen in the right time. I can tell you, at least from my perspective, our plate is pretty full right now. And we have to do all these projects right. And the focus right now is on completing the shipyards, the Four Seasons. But I have no doubt that downtown Jacksonville will have a sports entertainment complex. It's just a question of when, not if.
Thank you.
Will Brown, followed by Mia O'Brien.
Good afternoon, everyone. Congratulations on the stadium deal. I wanted to address this question to Mr. Khan. NFL stadiums have had renovation or construction cost overruns for multiple projects, whether it's Buffalo, New Orleans, whether it's new construction, whether it's renovation. But the Jaguars are picking up the overruns for this renovation. Describe why it was important for the Jaguars to pay for the cost overruns as part of this renovation, because that's not something we always see with NFL stadium deals.
Well, I think, first of all, I mean, we've done other projects with the city, like the scoreboard, the pools a number of years ago, Daily Center. And all of those, we were responsible for the overruns. So really, it's very important that we have the design done up front. We know what the costs are. We minimize, otherwise we're responsible for them. Mark?
Yeah, Will, I don't want to correct it.
Yeah.
We would have loved the fact if the city would have said they'd cover the cost overruns, but that is not the market. You mentioned Nashville, you mentioned Buffalo. All of those communities, the team takes 100% responsibility for the cost overruns. And at the very beginning of our negotiations, it was important to us that we controlled the process, and it was important to the city that their investment was capped. And that is very typical. It's what the market is in the National Football League. And I don't think we could have got a deal with the city if we weren't covering the cost overruns.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Alrighty, congrats to you all. Know you probably want to be getting to bed soon, so I'll keep this brief. Just looking for clarification on the nugget from the stadium deal regarding playing international games. It says that the Jaguars would be allowed to play up to 6 home games between 2025, 2027, maximum of 3 during the first 2 years, up to 3 more in 2027. Not sure if that's a Mark or a Shad or a Donna question, but just to kind of clarify what the plans are for international games moving forward.
I don't know if we have any plans at this point.
Yeah, Mia, what that was, there had to be some definition as to what the limits were, because we're entering into a new lease, and the old lease really didn't address the international games. So what we basically agreed to was to continue sort of the status quo, which right now we've been playing 1 game a year. And the NFL on an every 4-year base, or every 4-year basis, can ask us to play a second game. So during these first 2 years, we had to have the ability to move up to 3 games. We have no commitments. That's just to set a maximum. And then in 2027, when we're not playing in Jacksonville, it was important to us that we had some lever if we run into scheduling difficulty in the stadium we're going to be playing. We don't know where we're going to be playing yet. And that lever that we have, if we run into scheduling problems, could allow us to play up to 3 games in 2027. Those are just limits. That is not what our plan is at this point. And I'm sure those plans will be released when they're done, because quite honestly, they're not done right now.
Mia, if I could just add to that, I think just so it's clear, I think it's really important to remember we aren't going to have any less home games than we have now. That was the agreement that we made, that we would not have any less home games than we have now. And I think that was a good starting point for us, because we don't know what the NFL may add going forward. But I think that's one thing that we wanted to make sure that the fans knew, and that was that the home games that we currently have, we will continue to have.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
We'll wrap things up with David Bauerlein.
Yeah, just a quick question about the logistics of today's vote. You're in London, the owners are in Atlanta. How were you able to participate? Were you able to virtually participate? How did you find out that, yes, it was a 32-0 vote? How did that work for you to be there in terms of knowing what was happening and engaging in that vote process?
We were represented by Tony for the family, for me, and then Mega, who represented the teams. So they were there.
So did you got a call from them and they said, hey, it's 32-0, or how did you find out yourself personally?
Yeah, I think we got a call from the league and also from them. So.
Okay.
Okay, everyone, I'd like to thank Mark, the mayor, and Mr. Khan for being with us tonight. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Go
you.
Jag.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bravo. Okay.